Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Friday. Happy Freaky Friday to all you freaks out there. Hope your day and your week have been going very well so far. Got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It really does help the channel grow, and it means a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. Today, of course, is Freaky Friday, which means we have our Freaky Friday 5-leg parlay coming your way in today's video. But first, guys, before we dive into today's parlay, a quick little recap of how we did last night. And overall, guys, another solid performance from us here in the video series. We went 2-1 last night. We're now 9-3 overall this week in our single bet category. I've been sick. If you watch my videos, you know I've been talking about it nonstop. You guys are probably sick of hearing me talk about myself being sick. But the only positive about this week for me, with all the flu stuff going on, is the fact that I've been handing out some pretty solid winners. 9-3 overall this week in our single bet category. Again, 2-1 last night. The Ricochet prop was a home run. He scored 30 points with not even including the rebounds. Jalen Green was another solid hit, and Franz Wagner was a close miss. He finished with 30 points plus rebounds plus assists. Was a close miss, but a miss nonetheless. So 2-1 last night, up 0.83 units. We're now 123 and 104 on the season in our single bet category, up over 6 units on the year. If you combine parlay and single bets, we are up over 12 units here on the show this season. So like I said, guys, been on a pretty solid run of late. Let's keep those good times rolling into today's video. And today's the day, a really hot day is necessary because we have a nice little 5-leg parlay over plus 600 odds. So really good value in today's parlay. And as always, guys, make sure to comment Freaky down below. And if today's parlay hits, one lucky commenter will win a free $25 Amazon gift card. That's right, no joshing you here. If today's parlay hits, comment Freaky down below. And if today's parlay hits, one lucky commenter who comments Freaky down below will win a free $25 Amazon gift card. All right, guys, with all that out of the way, no more time to waste. Before I lose my voice yet again, let's dive right into today's picks. Jumping on over to the outlier screen here, guys, we are using DraftKings for today's parlay, although some of these lines are available on multiple sports books. So if you don't use DraftKings, there are still ways to go ahead and play along. And yes, these are all going to be alternate lines. Some of them are a little bit higher, some of them a bit lower, but these are all alternate lines. It's really the only way to go when betting parlays. All right, guys, the first leg of our Freaky Friday 5-leg parlay comes from the Dallas Mavericks-Detroit Pistons game, which has a 7 p.m. tip-off. We're going Cade Cunningham here of the Detroit Pistons over 34.5 points plus assists, which again, minus 175 over on DraftKings. This prop actually is a DraftKings exclusive. So this player prop you can't find anywhere else. But the data, of course, being an alternate line, is pretty solid. You see 7 of his last 10 games, Cade has cashed this over. That is a 70% hit rate, averaging 37.4 points plus assists across his last 10 games. Even if you go ahead and look at the overall season data here for Cade Cunningham, pretty solid numbers. 23 out of 43 games this season, he has cashed the over. That's a 53% hit rate, averaging 34.3 points plus assists per game overall this year. So pretty good numbers from Cade Cunningham, who also, by the way, was named an NBA All-Star last night. Congratulations to Cade Cunningham and to all those who were named NBA All-Stars last night. The head-to-head data, small sample size, but it is a pretty good result. He played Dallas once last year back on March 9th. He had a pretty big game, 33 points and 10 assists against the Mavericks. Again, that was, of course, last year. They haven't played yet this year, but pretty good data point last year. We also have the insights provided by Outlier. Cade Cunningham has exceeded 35.5 points plus assists in 4 of his last 5 games, averaging 39 points plus assists per game over that 5-game stretch. That is an 80% hit rate. Again, we're getting it at 34.5, but even at the 35.5 point line, the data looks to be pretty solid. Now, from a defensive matchup standpoint against the Dallas Mavericks, it's an okay matchup. You see Dallas on the right side of the screen. Overall this year, 15th in points allowed, 16th in assists allowed to opposing teams in general. Versus point guards like Cade Cunningham, they are 11th in points and 13th in assists. So, again, not a very great matchup defensively, but not a bad one either, I would say. Even if we go ahead over to the dashboard here on GuyBostonSports.com, even over the last 7 games, they are 13th in the NBA in points allowed to point guards, 10th in the NBA in assists allowed to point guards. But Cade Cunningham is averaging 25 points and 9 assists per game overall this season. So he's averaging right about where this line is at 34.5 points plus assists. I just think ultimately Cade still gets the job done. This is a data point to show Cade this year without Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey obviously, unfortunately I should say, out for the season. But Cade Cunningham has stepped up without Jaden Ivey in the lineup. And you see here a 71% hit rate on this over this season for Cade Cunningham when Jaden Ivey does not play. 12 out of 17 games, averaging 37 points plus assists per game. So overall, looks like we got a pretty solid prop for the first leg of our 5-leg parlay. All right, guys, our second leg in our 5-leg parlay comes from the Nuggets-Sixers game, 7:30 p.m. tip-off. We're going Michael Porter Jr. of the Denver Nuggets over 14.5 points plus assists. We're getting it for -185 over on DraftKings. Data, and the recent data is okay, but the overall data is fantastic on this prop for Michael Porter Jr. So, looking at the last 10 game data for Porter Jr., you'll see 6 of his last 10 games, he's gone ahead and cashed this over. That is a 60% hit rate over his last 10 games, averaging 15 points plus assists per game over his last 10 games. But again, if we go ahead and start to stretch that data out across the last 20 games, you'll see an 80% hit rate, 16 out of his last 20 games. He's cashed the over, averaging 18.85 points plus assists per game. And so far this year, an 83% hit rate on this over. A lot of green here on this data point for Michael Porter Jr. 39 out of 47 games this season, he has cashed the over, averaging 20.13 points plus assists per game overall this year. Now, his numbers are down a tad bit over the last 10 or 15 games or so, but still, overall, looks like we got a pretty solid data point on our hands here. In the head-to-head data, each of his last 3 meetings with the Philadelphia 76ers, he has cashed the over. That's a 100% hit rate, averaging 20.67 points plus assists per game across the previous 3 meetings against the Sixers. And these two teams have played already once this year, actually just 10 days ago back on January 21st. He had 19 points and 1 assist in what was a blowout win for the Denver Nuggets. So he already did it once this year. He only played 24.6 minutes in that game, and yet he still went ahead and cashed the over. Didn't take too many shots. Didn't do too much in terms of potential assists. Like, he didn't really have a ton of volume, and he still went ahead and cashed the over. So, got a pretty good spot on our hands here with Porter Jr. Overall, the Sixers defensively 11th in points allowed, 22nd in assists allowed in general versus small forwards, 8th and 11th, so a little bit better defensively. However, if we refer over to the dashboard over on GuyBostonSports.com, over the last 7 games, the Sixers defense versus small forwards has not aged that well, I should say. 30th in points, literally the worst scoring defense in the NBA over the last 7 games against small forwards. 20th in rebounds, 14th in assists. So kind of actually a really good defensive matchup for Michael Porter Jr. here. And obviously a lot of guys out for the Sixers tonight. Obviously, do I have to even say it? Obviously, we know Joel Embiid is out, but also Paul George, Caleb Martin, KJ Martin. A lot of key injuries here, specifically at the small forward spot. So I think we got a pretty good matchup on our hands here with Michael Porter Jr. And one last data point on this prop, guys. The insights, of course, provided by Outlier. Michael Porter Jr. has exceeded 16.5 points plus assists in 17 of his last 19 games versus bottom 10 defenses for assists allowed, averaging 21.9 points plus assists per game across that 19-game data point. 89% hit rate. And obviously, we're getting this at 14.5 points plus assists, so you can tack on one other cash there. So it's actually 18 of his last 19 games versus bottom 10 defenses for assists. So overall, really good data point here. Really good spot for Michael Porter Jr. For our second leg in today's parlay. All right, guys, our third prop in today's slate comes from the Celtics-Pelicans game, 8 p.m. tip-off. We're going Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans over 5.5 rebounds. I'm always a little bit nervous taking Zion because you just never know if you can really trust him to play. However, this is not the second night of a back-to-back, so he should be good to go. And honestly, the data is so solid, I have to go ahead and take a chance here. He's cashed in each of his last 10 games. That is a 100% hit rate, averaging 8.4 rebounds per game across his last 10 games. Overall this year, a 92% hit rate on this over for Zion. 12 out of 13 games this year, he's cashed the over, averaging 8.15 rebounds per game this season. And he's also averaging about 13.1 rebound chances per game this year. So plenty of opportunities for Zion. He's averaging 28.5 minutes per game. Not playing a ton of minutes when he plays, but he really doesn't need to in order to go ahead and cash this line. The head-to-head data is solid as well. He's cashed this over in 2 of his last 3 meetings against the Boston Celtics. That is a 67% hit rate, averaging 6.67 rebounds per game across their previous 3 meetings against the Boston Celtics. They have played one time this season, actually earlier this month on January 12th. He had 7 rebounds in that game, so he already cashed it once this season versus Boston. Played 28 minutes in that game and had 13 rebound chances. So overall, looks like a solid matchup versus power forwards this year. Boston, the 3rd worst team in the NBA in terms of rebounds allowed to the power forward position, giving up 12 rebounds per game. So yeah, across the board, this prop looks like a really, really, really solid spot. Even look at the last 20 games dating back to last year for Zion. 80% hit rate, 16 of his last 20 dating back to last season. So I don't really see why this prop shouldn't hit. Really easy line. Love the spot. All right, guys, and the 4th leg of our 5-leg parlay comes from the Bucks-Spurs game. 8 p.m. tip-off. We're going Damian Lillard of the Milwaukee Bucks over 2.5 3-pointers made, which is actually available on FanDuel too. So if you want to go ahead and rock with FanDuel, they do have that over on FanDuel. But again, we are sticking with DraftKings for today's parlay. Damian Lillard has cashed this over in 7 of his last 10 games. That is a 70% hit rate, averaging 3.3 3-pointers made per game across his last 10 games. And the usage rate is there. He's playing about 37 minutes per game, taking about 8.2 3-point attempts per game. So the volume is certainly there for Damian Lillard. Even if you want to go ahead and stretch this data out to the entire season, 67% hit rate on this over for Damian Lillard. 26 out of 39 games he's cashed it, averaging 3.46 3-pointers made per game overall this year. You want to squeeze the data back down to the last 20 games, still solid. 70% hit rate over his last 20 games, 14 of his last 20, averaging 3.4 3-pointers made per game across his last 20 games. By the way, guys, I want to apologize if you can hear my breathing in the microphone. I'm trying not to, but I am. If you can hear while I'm gasping for air mid-sentence, I can't breathe with this freaking flu bullshit. Having a hard time breathing. So basically, we can get off like 5 words before I lose my breath. So if you can't hear me gasping for air in the microphone, I do sincerely apologize for that. And I do apologize also for constantly referencing the fact that I'm sick. It's just sort of my life right now. I swear, once I'm over this flu, it's going to be elderberries and whatever the vinegar shots, whatever. I'm doing all that stuff, all the roots, all this, like whatever I can find to keep my immune system better so I don't ever get sick like this again. I'm doing it because this week has been a living nightmare, a living hell. It's been awful. But we have been hitting some bets, so some good has come out of me being sick. But yeah, overall, and then when it comes to this player prop, try not to laugh so I don't cough. Yeah, I'm actively feeling like death. But by the way, guys, this player prop. But yeah, the Lillard player prop, all the data seems to be pretty solid here from a head-to-head standpoint as well. Not too shabby. 2 of his last 3 meetings against the Spurs, he's cashed the over. It's a 67% hit rate, averaging 4 3-pointers made per game across the previous 3 meetings against San Antonio. They have played once this year, again, earlier this month, back on January 8th. He did hit 4 threes in that game, so he already cashed it once this season versus the Spurs. He did take 7 threes in that game, so a pretty decent volume there. And again, all we need him to do is hit 3. We don't need 4, just 3. So I think it's very hittable. Versus point guards this year, San Antonio, bottom 10 in the NBA in terms of 3-pointers allowed to the point guard position, 21st in the NBA overall this season, giving up 3.2 3-pointers made per game to opposing point guards. And if we go over to the dashboard, the last 7 game data really hasn't changed all that much. Even over the last 7 games, San Antonio versus point guards right now 20th in the NBA in 3-pointers allowed over the last 7 games. So whatever way you want to shake it, I think this is a pretty solid spot here for Damian Lillard. So add that as the 4th leg in today's parlay. And our 5th and final leg in today's parlay, guys, comes from the Suns-Warriors game. 10 p.m. tip-off. We're going Devin Booker of the Phoenix Suns over 34.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. This is the Devin Booker revenge game. Obviously, I congratulated Cade Cunningham earlier in the video and all the All-Stars who made it. Unfortunately, Devin Booker was not one of those All-Stars. I've got no qualms with Booker. I think he's a fantastic player. I guess I can understand why they wouldn't put him on. Honestly, I think the biggest snub, if we're talking Western Conference All-Stars, is the fact that Şengün got in over Sabonis. And I like Şengün a lot, and I think obviously the Rockets, being as good as they are this year, they deserve to have one All-Star there. But Sabonis has been so freaking good this year. The fact that he's not on this list, I think, is a bigger snub than Devin Booker. Yeah, Booker's having a great year, and he deserves to be there too. But I do think if we had to talk snubs, I think Sabonis is a bigger snub than Booker. Irregardless, Devin Booker is going to be a little pissed off, I'm sure, not making the All-Star team. And coming into this game, especially, you've seen this a lot with guys who get snubbed from the All-Star game. They go out and say, hey, you don't want to put me in the All-Star game? Fine, let me show you why you screwed up. And so Devin Booker is going to come out here, I think, have a really big game against the Warriors on the road. Big-time performance, big-time game. Beyond just the gut feeling and the all-star snubbed stuff, there is some data to back this up. Devin Booker has cashed this over in 8 of his last 10 games. That is an 80% hit rate, averaging 39.3 points plus rebounds plus assists per game across his last 10 games. So some pretty good data points there. Overall this year, a 63% hit rate on the over for Devin Booker. 26 out of 41 games this season, he's gone ahead and cashed this over, averaging 36.24 points plus rebounds plus assists per game overall this year. So like I said, pretty good numbers. Even the head-to-head data is solid. Each of his last 5 meetings with the Golden State Warriors, he's cashed the over. That is a 100% hit rate, averaging 42.6 points plus rebounds plus assists per game against the Warriors across their last 5 meetings. They played once this year. Back on November 30th, he did cash the over with 27 points, 3 rebounds, and 9 assists in that game. Overall this year, the Warriors 9th in points, 22nd in rebounds, and 15th in assists, respectively, in terms of overall team defense versus shooting guards, which is where Devin Booker primarily plays. A solid matchup, 24th in points, 23rd in rebounds, and 22nd in assists allowed, respectively, to the shooting guard position. So it looks like we have a pretty solid matchup here. Referring back to the dashboard, over the last 7 games, the Warriors' defensive numbers have increased a little bit in terms of the defense versus shooting guards. You see 11th in points, 9th in rebounds, so definitely better than what the overall numbers would lead you to believe. The assist numbers allowed, obviously, still very high. 3-pointers allowed, still pretty high. Despite all that, I'm still not really all that worried here about this. Again, Booker has cashed in each of his last 5 meetings with Golden State. He likes to play hard. He had some really big performances against the Warriors over the last year or two. Coming off the All-Star snub, I don't see why he shouldn't have an even bigger performance here versus the Warriors tonight. So that is the 5th and final leg of today's parlay. All right, guys, those are all 5 legs in today's Freaky Friday NBA parlay. Quick little run through here. We got Damian Lillard over 2.5 3-pointers made. Cade Cunningham over 34.5 points plus assists. Devin Booker over 34.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. Zion Williamson over 5.5 rebounds. And Michael Porter Jr. over 14.5 points plus assists. And this sometimes happens in the sports betting landscape. As you're recording a video, the lines change drastically, and so does the odds of the parlay. The Zion Williamson prop over 5.5 rebounds jumped massively to minus 290 over on DraftKings. So the parlay is now plus 550 over on DraftKings when you parlay all 5 legs together. It was plus 605 when we started recording. It's now plus 550. That doesn't deter me from taking this. I'm still rocking with it. Yes, it's not as valuable as it was 30 minutes ago, but it's still a very valuable parlay. Plus 550 odds. We're not going to get greedy here. Still very solid value for a 5-leg parlay. All right, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. And don't forget to comment Freaky down below. If this parlay hits, you could be a double winner potentially. Win the money from the parlay and also win a free $25 Amazon gift card. Again, if the parlay hits. So comment Freaky down below for a chance to win that giveaway potentially. Like I said, guys, thank you very much for watching. And all week long, honestly, I know I've been saying it a lot. With me being sick, it really has been a struggle to put these videos out. Even today, although from an energy standpoint, I'm feeling much better. Actually going to try and attempt to go back to work tomorrow. So, pizza shop has been running, thankfully. I wouldn't say necessarily smoothly, but it's been running. So I'm excited to get back to work tomorrow and get everything back in order. But yeah, really excited to kind of get back to the normal. Still coughing, still got a little bit of a sore throat here, and still, but the direction I'm trending, I'm hoping by tomorrow, it'll mostly be eliminated. Again, I'm still having a little bit of a hoarse throat, and, you hear my voice or whatever, but we are trending in the right direction. The patterns are going up. We've cashed the over in the last couple of days in terms of improvement in our health. So, but thank you guys for all the well wishes all week long and for riding with me, even though my voice has been annoying and I've been complaining about being sick for days now. We've been handing out winners. Let's keep those good vibes going into today's video. I'll be back tomorrow with another NBA player prop video. But until then, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your Freaky Friday. Have some freaky fun, but be safe. All right, guys. See you tomorrow. Let's go ahead and win some money.